That'd be funny.
None of those people are here. We are here. We are
No.
here. Are we here?
Maybe.
The Buddhist question on life. Are we here? Are you here? Are we here? Here? There? Where? Anyways,
Maybe. Expect someone a wooden stick. Yes.
it's Friday.
It's Friday.
Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Not Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday.
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 Yes.
It's Friday. Have you ever watched Futurama?
Yes.
So you know who Fry is.
Yeah, of course.
So like, and one day he's in like, wasn't it the 1980s or 1990s? He falls into the
I want to say
thing.
1999.
Is that what? And he gets frozen.
Yeah.
How many? 500 years, or is it less than that? Maybe it's not
I
that
wanna
long.
say
Isn't it
it's
like?
almost 1,000 maybe?
It's a long time.
It is a long time.
It's a long time.
a long time.
Enough time to give perspective, maybe. Satan, maybe. Satan does actually play a part in Futurama. Not that that relates to our current conversation, but so you fall into this thing, you get frozen, right?
Yeah, he gets frozen.
He gets frozen. What year? Did you find it?
1999, and it was 1,000 years.
And it was
He
1,000
wakes
years.
up in 2,999.
2,999. Okay.
So 29.99.
29.99.
Yeah.
1,000 years.
Not to be confused with $30.
Now, first off, when you look back on Fry's life, he is not memorable.
No, not at all.
Though his great nephew.
I mean, his dog remembered him.
Well, that's like the saddest dude. Hit me in the
dog
feels.
remembered him.
Man.
Hey,
Talk about
I mean,
sidelining
well,
me.
if you look for the positives.
If you look, you mean the dog that waited outside the pizza shop winter after winter and died?
Yes. He waited for him.
Yeah, but it was horrible for the dog.
Yeah, but I thought it was kind of sweet.
Well, yeah, except for the fact that Fry forgot his dog, and his dog
Fry
was
didn't
loyal.
forget his dog. He got accidentally frozen. He didn't mean to get frozen.
That's true. He kind of bumbled into it.
Yeah.
He did.
He did a doofus thing.
But so yesterday, I was trying to figure out, what does success mean? What is success, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you define success? Where are you going from here? No idea. So you're looking back 1,000 years. You're looking, 1,000 years, and you're going. So what would you like? So look back 1,000 years now. So we're talking. That's the year 1022, right?
Yeah.
1022.
No, 2000.
No, 1022 versus 2022. 1,000 years. 2, 1. I can subtract.
It's 3020.
No, I was gonna go the other way
Right.
though. I was gonna. Okay, if we looked back 1,000 years right now
1,000
from
years,
where we
yeah.
are right now, it'd be 1022.
It'd be 3022. Because we're in
We're-
2022
We're
right
going
now.
to go there.
Yeah.
What we're talking about is
Oh,
right
if you
now.
look back.
What do you
Okay.
remember about your ancestors from
from
1022?
Not a thing.
Not a thing.
I have no clue.
Not a thing.
I have no clue who they were or what they did or
So what's the risk?
what's the risk.
Yeah, what's the fear of failure?
Hmm.
So what do you remember about your most successful ancestor from 1022?
I don't even know.
What do you remember about your ancestor from 1022, like the biggest failures, dude? Maybe he had he liked sheep, or, I don't know, he was the town, idiot,
The
or.
farthest back I can remember is like my great grandmother. I don't know.
So what's the risk now for you?
What's the risk?
In 1,000 years, they're not going to remember me no matter what I do.
I think having a sucky go of things.
Well, but no. But follow me here. Like, in the end.
I think it's more of a risk of feeling like a failure than actually being a failure.
Because how do you measure fail and success if 1,000 years from now you don't even. Who
I
remembers
think
what?
I think humans aren't really like scared of the concept of like death because of the other people involved. I think we're more scared of it because we're scared of the concept of not existing.
Oh.
Like it's the same thing with the fear of failure, where like if you feel like you're gonna fail, you're scared of the fact that you yourself will feel like a failure. You're not scared of everyone else thinking you're a failure. Because if everyone else thinks you're a failure, but you feel like a success, you'll be fine.
Well, but the problem is, isn't all of that fear of failure really about the judgment of others, anyways?
Part of it, yeah. Part of it,
Isn't it
yeah.
really the internalization of this thing that we think other people are thinking?
Yes.
Oh. And so, really, when it comes down to it, that measure,
Mm-hmm.
okay, now step back 1,000 years. You know what I mean? There's nothing there. It's really a fear of judgment endlessly that we can't be ourselves because we're going to be judged, and oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, and no one's so.
Yeah.
Our it's that argument of no, you don't need religion for morality, you need empathy, right? That
I think you don't need it for morality. You need it for peace.
you need
Not
religion for
not
peace.
I'm not saying religion is the only way to peace. That's not what I'm saying.
Oof.
That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm only saying like you need something outside of yourself that you believe in. Whether that's the universe or God or gods, I
You have
don't
to
care.
believe in something bigger.
Yes.
Okay, no, I
think so.
don't disagree with that.
I think so.
But I think it can be as simple as believing in us as a whole.
Yeah.
That bigger doesn't I don't think you need deity or religion
That's
at
good
that
too.
point.
I think.
No, I agree. That you have to believe you have to rid the idea that ego-wise you're all that matters.
Yes.
And
Because
see, once again, I don't think that takes religion. I think that takes empathy.
If you start from a place that you think that you're the only thing that matters, you are going to be controlled by your emotions.
Okay,
At least I feel.
So now we're
Mhm.
in 3022. Oh, and
Okay.
by the way, as far as whether or not religion's going to be the way peace happens, historians from
I don't know.
1022 would
I
like
don't
to have a
think so.
word.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not
No, no,
saying.
no, 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 no. I'm
Yeah.
not. Okay, we're moving on to 3022 now.
Yeah.
We're going to the future.
Mhm.
We've been to the past. We don't remember any of those people.
Mhm.
So if you were going to make a mark and be remembered 1,000 years from now,
Mhm.
what do you want it to be for? Do you want your name to be remembered? Do you want it to have something you did be remembered? What do you want to have be memorable in your life?
I don't want to be remembered. I don't.
So so now that we're 1,000 years away and going, okay, I don't want to be remembered.
I don't think past like maybe 200 or 100 years. I don't want to be remembered.
You don't want to get too.
Yeah.
I was sitting here thinking to myself.
I want to get lost in history.
I think 142, 146, maybe that's about the point. No, I'm just kidding.
Right.
Between about the 100 and 200 year mark, if I could get forgotten at about.
Well, the thought is that by that point in time, anyone who was related to anyone who could have known me would have been,
What if they don't remember you, but there's something that changed in music because of you that's still present?
I mean, that'd be cool.
How do you measure success here?
How do I measure success here?
Right.
Whether or not people enjoyed their time around me.
Okay. Whether or not you had a positive effect on the world?
Yes.
Okay.
That means more to me than whether or not people in 3,000 whatever know that I existed.
No, I agree with this. That I, as far as I'm concerned, if no one ever knows my name, that's fine.
Yeah.
If I can have a positive effect.
Is there a part of my ego that would love to be known by everyone? Yeah, sure. But
if you end up known for inventing TNT, would you come up with an award to give people so they remembered you for something else and call it the Nobel Prize?
maybe.
Maybe.
I don't
If
know.
I have the money to decide how I'm going to be remembered, yeah, I get what he's doing there. Well, interesting. He had that same feeling that Einstein did about the bomb. That if they hadn't shared their thoughts, fewer people could have died.
Well, not Einstein. I know of Oppenheimer. That guy.
Oppenheimer was
he apparently had a lot of regret about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Oppenheimer was involved directly at Los Alamos as everything was going on at the labs in Chicago. and in New
It
Mexico.
was under Chicago University, right?
That is correct. Now
UNC.
Fermilab. My brother, who graduated as a physics major from the University of Chicago.
Right.
Actually, yeah, no, that's where they were doing that. That's where they split the atom first.
Yeah.
They've got some cool things to hold on to at that school. There were a lot of pretty impressive.
Right.
I hear old Barry Obama used to teach law as well. Professor Barry, Professor Barry.
If I'm not mistaken,
I said,
Michael
don't
Jordan
call me
also went
Professor
to-
Barry.
If I'm not mistaken, Michael Jordan also went to UNC, right?
No, that's University of North Carolina. UNC.
Never mind. Different. I'm tripping. It's okay.
Yeah, you are.
I'm bugging.
Chicago versus North Carolina.
Yeah. I thought maybe.
So, but we get so lost in trying to figure it out, man. It's Friday.
Yeah.
That to some extent, the whole point of Friday versus Friday is, I don't know, if I look 1,000 years back or 1,000 years forward, it's this moment doesn't have so much immense meaning to it as I put on it. That, oh, I'm the star of my show, and the only video I'm seeing is 24 hours a day, me.
Mm-hmm.
That's so not a legitimate view, though, because even if you just get a couple people away in the now, people don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And then if you get 100 to 200 years away, you're going to be barely remembered unless you were a major figure.
Right.
You get 500 years away, now even major figures get diluted.
Right.
We don't remember. Yeah, you could go through a list of all the kings or all the presidents.
Right.
But there's specifics,
But it's like, come on,
the Henrys, the Washingtons. Right.
Yeah.
There's some, it starts diluting. It's like bad pop
I'd
music.
say the farthest back person I know of is Caesar. I don't know any other Romans really.
Ugh, mad.
Maybe Caligula.
Ugh, mad. Ugh, make
bad.
wheel. No one remember Ugh.
Who's Ugg? Oh, the guy from Futterman.
No,
Oh.
Ugh, make wheel.
Okay.
Nobody remembers the caveman that made the wheel.
Okay.
Ugh, make trademark. Ugh, make square with rounded corners.
Oh my God.
Ugh, sue apple.
Anyways.
Square rectangle same.
Oh my God.
I draw on cave wall long before.
Anyways. I feel like the thing that always interested me about like the nihilistic outlook was the fact that like if I look 1,000 years ahead and I look 1,000 years behind, I'm gonna be a speck. I'm okay with that. I think being a speck is okay. I'm okay with that. I'm not really out to make a big mark on history or anything. I don't really.
But meanwhile, I want to change the world. I don't even know how.
I want to change the people I can change. Not change. I want to help people have fun. That's what I want to do. I want to help people have fun.
I get you. I think of chill. You go fun, I go chill. That I'd like. When I say change the world, all I know how to do is try to. This is gonna sound really wrong in a Me Too world. I just
what?
I just want to touch as many people as I can.
Okay. That's anyways,
to some extent, the idea that the information is out there for us to make a change. That I don't think of me as trying to make the world change. I'm like going, no, the wave's here.
I'm not so.
This is the moment this could happen.
I will say I'm not so concerned with quantity as I am quality. I'm more concerned with, okay, I made my brother and sister smile. That makes me
absolutely.
Happy. I made my mom smile. That makes me happy. Sometimes I make my cousin smile. That makes me happy. You know?
I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Here's the problem. This is where I get stuck.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what day. It must have been Valentine's Day. We talked about how aromantic I am and screwed up and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that I love and feel compassion for all of life.
Mm-hmm.
I love each piece differently because each piece is different and it's a different thing. But whether I'm talking to, Daisy in Guyana,
Mhm.
or I'm talking to Daria in Moscow,
Mhm.
or even if I'm talking to Natalie in Gehenna. As much as I was being silly with Natalie, and we've ripped Natalie all week, because
You've ripped Natalie off. I've
I
said she was
personally, if I
doing her
remember
job.
correctly, most of it was Ross.
No,
Ross was pretty rough on her.
I said she was doing her job.
Something about not doing her job or something. I know. Well, that each of those interactions is that important to me too.
Mhm.
Not in the sense that on my day to day it's on my radar,
Mhm.
but in the sense that if I'm trying to be present in the moment with each person I'm talking to.
Mhm.
So in my head it's not quantity.
I have a.
It like it's quality,
Mhm.
but in a way that I'm actively going, I want to share that.
I have a hard time relating to that, and I'll tell you why. Because the way I look at it, the more I have, I have love for the people I come in contact with,
Right.
and the more contact and the more time that I spend with them, the more love I have,
Right.
and the more I feel this need to make them comfortable and to be
Okay. Yeah, keep going with it.
as like
Ex-
as not
Now
maybe
extend it
not as
all
good
out.
as good of a person as I can be.
Well, now extend it all out though.
What do you mean?
So if you're more connected to more people and you're more concerned
So
about the welfare of
the reason I
others.
have a hard time extending it out is because that stresses me out like crazy.
Well, no, it's
Because
spirit.
I then begin to like have a hard time with, oh well, how do I help this person I don't even know?
By being a good
How do
person.
I
Yeah, no,
like
just by being you.
literally I've had conversations with people where like the first conversation we're talking about suicide, and I'm like,
Well, yeah, okay,
how
that's a bit
how do
extreme.
I? No, I'm not. I'm saying like
Are you
how,
talking about Natalie again?
no,
Okay, just checking.
no. Where in that first conversation, something really deep and really personal to me may come up. Not saying it always comes from my side. Sometimes it comes from their side. Sometimes it comes from my side. But um, it feels like, okay, how do I calm the situation? Like, how do I get out of my own head and help maybe help this person get out of their own head if I can
How do you get
at all.
control of the situation?
Yes. And once I jump to how do I get control of the situation,
Hmm.
I don't understand what's going on and I begin to lose control completely. Like completely lose control. And then once that happens, I have to acknowledge that I'm losing control, that I never had control, and that I got to go back to what I can focus on.
Well, for
So
me,
once I try to extend, it feels very unnatural and it feels very uncomfortable and it feels like I'm talking to this person and I'm trying to be something that I'm not, you know?
no, okay. I think
Not saying like I can't.
for me,
Yeah.
it's that if I get into a mode where I'm not genuinely existing, that happens.
Mhm.
If what I do is just meet them where they're at and share my experience, as opposed to trying to fix their experience,
Mhm.
I can use I words, and my goal is what I'm doing is sharing.
Mhm.
So, okay, hey, we're
Mhm.
going through a thing, not I'm trying to tell you how to deal with it.
Well, I have a hard time reconciling my very abstract definition of love and my very specific definition of love,
Okay.
which is the specific one is the you're a person that I know very well
Right.
and we've spent a lot of time together and I I know that I want to make this situation better in any way that I can.
Right.
And the abstract version of love is, oh, you're a human being. I love you. You're I mean, like you were born. You woke up today. Good for you.
Well,
Good
so,
job. Like there's that, but there's also like the very deep and intimate one that I have a hard time crossing the two over,
well, I
I
think
guess.
for me,
Mhm.
I don't have the ability to think of them as two separate things.
Yeah, they're two separate things for me.
So, for me, I know that all of those people are people.
Yes,
They all have real struggles I'm not aware of.
of course.
Um, I have to meet them the way I'd want to be met.
Right.
And Wow. So I have never been able to not have the macro thought
Mm.
ever. That when I'm in counseling
Mhm.
in it's 6th or 7th grade, the counselor's issue is that when he asks me for an example, I extrapolate from the middle school level to the global level.
Mhm.
This is as a kid.
Right.
I can't not see the bigger pattern
Mhm.
because there's a bigger pattern.
Mhm.
And so these people I care about,
Mhm.
okay, so let's look at that inner circle you were looking at.
Mhm.
If I care about them, they're
Mhm.
affected by the broader pattern.
Mhm.
So if I don't address the broader pattern, I'm not addressing their well-being.
Well, the thing is, if I begin to talk out loud long enough,
Mm-hmm.
you'll begin to realize that I think about almost everything,
No, I know that.
and I think that almost everything is connected. And it's very similar to what you were talking about, where you were like, okay, in middle school, I'm drawing examples from the macro level and not from the micro level.
Right.
And I definitely fully understand that because when I think long enough and when I let my thoughts run, everything begins to get connected. And it
Mm-hmm.
scares me every time because I'm like, if everything is so connected, why don't I feel connected to it?
Because the heart, so sometimes that's, for some people, that's the hardest part,
Yeah,
is the feeling connected. So that I'm part of everything.
yeah.
And then this is the part some people, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm also separate from everything.
Yes.
And so now both exist if you think about it. If you go, okay, yes, am I part of the universe?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you're part of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Do I exist separately as an entity existing and making decisions in the moment?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in that I'm part of,
Mm-hmm.
both things are actually true.
Yeah.
Traditionally, I think one or the other is more scary for most people.
Well, the thought that everything is connected and the thought that I'm alone is either scary or comforting depending on how I'm feeling.
Right.
And that makes it even more confusing because now you're like, okay, I can't even get a consistent feeling on how I feel about this because sometimes I look at the connectedness of everybody and I look at how we all experience this form of pain and I feel almost joy because I know that I'm not the only one going through it. But also, sometimes I feel like deeply scared because I'm like, we're all going through this? So we're all really confused all the time? So we're all not having a fun go of things? Like, that's scary to me sometimes. And it's like, if I can't figure out how I feel about this, then what does that mean for like how I feel about the things that are fundamental to me?
Well, but if you think of it as the idea that everybody's struggling with this thing you're struggling with,
Mhm.
that okay, so it's a circle.
Mhm.
You go, oh well, this, and this
Mhm.
was like, okay, but the reason you're not alone is
Mhm.
because that's a universal.
Well, the one thing is the things that I always know is that the people around me, I love them and they love me.
Mm-hmm.
And I take great comfort in that. And that's the only thing I've ever been able to take great comfort in consistently is I can go spend the night at a family member's house and feel more comfortable just because of the fact that we have the same blood. Like that just that just that fact and also the fact that I've grown up with this person or maybe they came into my life at a really dark time and we've connected over that. You know, that the feeling of familiarity and family like really grounds me in a different way than like reaching out does. Reaching out always feels scary. Sometimes it can feel comforting, but for the most part it's scary.
Right. Right.
And like reaching out for help has never been like super scary, but reaching out in terms of like, oh, like I just want to talk. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes even that can be scary,
I get that.
you know?
Well, is that though because you're trying to predict the outcome?
A lot of it, yeah.
That time and again, it's that how do we get to the point where we are in the moment?
Mhm.
So that one of my big things is it's good to come to people with questions,
Mhm.
but you have to let them be willing. You have to be willing to let them have an answer.
Well, the thing is, I
Does
think
that make sense?
yeah, 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 definitely, definitely. I think when you constantly look for and notice patterns, you also begin to predict, and that's when it gets like scary, or not just scary, but it gets like you're beginning to let your fear get to you,
Mm-hmm.
and you're beginning to let like because you have fear of the situation, it begins to seep out of the way that you act.
Well, the fear eventually becomes what defines you. Fear is the mind killer. It's
Yeah.
the thing that makes your brain not work.
Yes.
It releases the medicine that makes you go, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god," and
Yeah.
you can't.
And you
Your
can't figure
brain is
anything
not
out.
supposed to be able to work at that point.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be getting the hell out of there. Whatever is coming for you is
Right.
bad.
Right. Right. Right.
Here's the problem.
You can't just do that.
There's nothing coming for
Right.
you.
Right. 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 Right.
You know, there isn't actually a tiger around the bend.
Well, I think a lot of it is like caveman stuff.
No,
It's
that's my
that
point.
simple. It's literally that simple.
Well, and I think as we look back our 1,000 years and where will we be 1,000 from now,
Mm-hmm.
that's the leap.
Yeah.
How do we quit acting like scared children? How do we quit acting like cavemen?
Mm-hmm.
That, ugh, I take more of yours. Me, king. You know, but it's we have people all over the globe still playing the game where what they do is, "Oh, I've got bigger stick than you." But that's not how
Mhm.
adults think. That as a society globally, we can claim we've gotten X amount old,
Right.
but you know what? You look around and as a group, that's not our behavior. It's like watching a middle school playground at best. Because what's running all of us is fear.
I still think that over time we've learned a lot more about ourselves. But I also think as we learn more positive traits, we learn more negative traits.
Well,
Like there's I don't know, like I wasn't alive in uh 10 whatever, as you can tell.
still 22. We're just moving 1,000 either way. You
Yeah.
just got to
Yeah,
subtract
yeah,
one or
yeah.
add one.
One or the other. Um but I almost sometimes feel like they did terrible things, but we do worse things. They did good things, but we do better things. I almost feel like we do both. Like they didn't help the mentally ill back then, like at all. If you were mentally ill, like or if you were sometimes even if you were diseased, like you were left to fend for yourself. And we very much try, at least try. We try to make the effort to take
We
care of each other.
That's what we do
Almost.
here in the United States still.
No, we still do it on a large scale, but I'm saying there's more of an effort than there was back then.
But less of an effort than any other country on the planet. Anyways, I don't mean to get distracted by that. But yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
That
It's almost in my mind.
medicine has moved forward. I don't believe in the system that's making a profit off it. So why don't we just?
Yeah.
But I agree that we've learned as we've come. But I think it's the same problem we've always had. It's we think the sun goes around the earth.
Mhm.
It's because we're egocentric critters.
Mhm.
The only perspective we have is through our own eyes
Mhm.
looking out. Thus, the reason we need empathy and mindfulness and compassion and all of that to overcome the fact that no, it's not all about you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Endlessly, we end up, oh my God, that we have to somehow make that that leap.
Mhm.
That I feel the impetus for my need to speak to the world
Mhm.
is that we're at a precipice. We're at a moment. I think far more important than when the robots get brains, though the robots coming has something to do with this, that we have to either grow up or die off. That we're so impressed by ourselves, we think we've come so far, we're not working at it. And the best measure of how much you can learn is how much you're willing to admit you don't know.
But the thing is, I don't think that we've come that far.
I don't either. That's what I'm
I
saying.
literally just think I always look at every invention we've ever used or ever made has had two sides. Like every like The
What went
internet.
wrong with
Let's
making
let's
peanut butter?
let's say the internet.
Okay.
It's a wonderful place because you can talk to people and stuff like that. You can reach out across the world. You know. At the same time, it's a terrible place
Well,
because there's people that are doing terrible things on the internet. There's also people that are doing wonderful things
okay.
on the
So
internet. It
here's
almost makes me think that every almost everything we do is more positive or more negative depending on how we use it and depending on how we look at it.
here's my point. Here's the problem.
Mhm.
What really makes us tools
Mhm.
as a species is the idea that we keep trying to define tools
Mhm.
as good or bad. Tools are not good or
Yes, they're
bad.
tools.
What people do with them
Yes.
can be good or bad.
Yes.
That so we demonize the internet.
Yeah.
We demonize this, we demonize
It's
that.
like, hey, wait.
That's
This
not what
wasn't.
that's not the problem.
It's a tool. That's it. It's not good or bad. It's just a tool.
And so the point
Yeah, I
is
get you.
that's still a lack of what it is it's people taking a lack of responsibility for their actions. It's still the same childish behavior that's driven by ego
I got
that
you.
leads to how do we grow up?
Right.
How do we, when we look forward 1,000 years or back 1,000 years? I think we've come forward. I think 1,000 years we've done. There's been some good stuff as per normal. There's been some really bad stuff. Hopefully, we learned some of it,
Mhm.
being that we can't even keep track of history a year apart. But I mean, 100 years apart. But hey, why not? That
Humans are not good record
no.
keepers. That's
Well,
what it
that
is.
too.
Yeah.
That it's not that they're bad record keepers. It's that it's the ego thing again.
No, we.
No. Let
Okay.
me that. So when we went into the pandemic, the
Mhm.
reason we did exactly what we did 100 years ago, because we made the same mistake. We were sure we knew more.
Mhm.
We were sure that we would handle it so much better.
Mhm.
We were so full of ourselves. And we thought, oh my God, you know what? That was 100 years ago. It's just silly.
Mhm.
Guess what? It wasn't just silly. It was the same problem that happened every pandemic ever.
I don't think everyone was like that though.
I didn't.
I think a lot of people were like genuinely trying to look at the problem and figure out how to actually do better
So
rather than,
you always put me
you
in
know.
this position. I'm not trying to lay it at anybody's feet.
Mhm.
Okay. But I will say this as a country, we failed miserably. And I will point out that this is where the concept of flattening the curve was created. That we were willing to kill X number of people as long as the rate allowed us continuing to be able to do whatever the hell we pleased. We were the first most egocentric response. And as opposed to laying it at the feet of either party,
Mhm.
I'm going to express that no. Both sides agreed they were whores. The debate was about how many. Everybody saw that people were going to die. Other countries opted for a zero basis for where we were
Mhm.
trying to get to. We did not. We decided, a few old people, a few poor people, it'll be okay.
Mhm.
That's what we're paying the price for. That's why over 1 million people have died already. Anybody that wants to go look up those statistics is more than welcome. I'm not a political person. I don't debate politics. I will say this was predictable from the very beginning based on the response. And that I did. And that I have. And as everybody's taking their masks off, expect another wave. It's not done yet.
I I didn't look into it that deeply, I will say, but everything from the very little that I know about humans, I get the feeling that some people were trying really hard to fix the problem and some people were in the way. And that's the way that I feel about it, and I feel like it's unfortunate that things happen the way that they did, and
Yeah.
I don't really know how to move past that.
Well, in my head, it's if 1,000 years from now we have a pandemic, we should have figured out how to deal with that. That if I look back 100 years and used science
Mhm.
and thought about it,
Mhm.
if I was able to predict it all the way through on some level, I gotta believe that people who know a lot more than I do could as well.
There's also the possibility that maybe we just didn't learn that much.
But the lessons were all there. Us being stupid isn't an excuse. Being too lazy to look.
No, I didn't say we're
As
too
well, no, no,
lazy.
no, no, no,
I
no.
didn't say
But
we're
what
too
I'm saying
lazy
is,
to look. I'm saying maybe we didn't learn as much as we thought we learned.
no. But
That's
it
it.
was there for us to learn. We chose not to.
Mm-hmm.
If I can look back and go, no, I look at this lesson and it's right there. We were just lazy. Because we have people that study all of this, and we had people, yes, saying all those things,
Mm-hmm.
and we ignored all those things.
I'm saying collectively we
Yeah.
haven't learned as much as we thought. I'm not saying that there aren't people that figured out the answer.
So who do we blame for that? It's not. So we're lazy. We don't pay attention.
No, I'm not.
But-
I'm not
but
trying
my
to make.
point
I'm
is,
not trying to make
I
actual
was-
statements about
No, I
about
know.
us.
I'm not trying to lump everybody. What I'm trying to point out though is, I didn't put in a bunch of effort. I didn't have to spend a bunch of time. This stuff was so obvious
What
that
I'm
if my
saying-
5-year-old sat down
what I'm
back
saying-
then, he knew it.
If the classroom, if one kid figured out the answer and the rest of the class couldn't figure it out, even though he was trying to explain it to everybody else, that means we didn't figure out the answer.
That's not true. That means we didn't teach the answer.
Okay.
That means the children didn't put the effort into learning the answer. If one child gets
mean-
the right answers on the tests,
Mhm.
but all the other kids failed, the answers were available. One kid got 100. The other
Mhm.
kids didn't get taught or try one of those two things.
Mm.
And the reality is, the lead up to both of the world wars in the last century,
Mhm.
the pandemic involved,
Mhm.
all of those things are taught in history,
Mhm.
in American and world history,
Mhm.
everywhere. So I think just too lazy. I know. I hate to. I know that's not the right answer. I agree. I know I'm not supposed to say if people are
Uh-huh.
lazy. I get that. But when there are things so obviously apparent that you will shove your head deep into the sand and not have to deal with it, that's not knowing. That's choosing not to know.
I don't think it was that obvious. I really don't.
How could it not be?
I didn't.
I don't understand. If I'm looking back 100 years, forget 1,000 years, Fry. If I'm looking back 100 years where I have perfect records of everything, if I put in 10 minutes of effort and then put the curves next to each other, it happened the exact same way. And that takes how long? I don't know. Why, you're giving me this look like I don't know what to say. I'm like, how do we learn from our mistakes? How do we 1,000 years from now, I wake up and we're in a better place? If we can't even figure out 100 years ago, and it's a reasonable excuse that we shouldn't have had to.
I think that we're human, and we didn't learn. That's it. I think that we're human and we didn't learn. It's that simple.
Wow, that's sad.
Yes, it's sad, but
pathetic.
it's. I think it's the reality.
Oh, wow.
I think it's the reality is that we're human and we didn't learn. We didn't look back where we could have looked. We didn't check what we could have checked. We didn't assess what we needed to assess, and we didn't learn.
Who didn't know? We all knew. There was a fight over, but we all knew.
What do you mean we all knew?
We all knew.
I didn't fucking know
How?
at all.
What do people think a pandemic is?
What do people think a pandemic is?
Yeah, I mean, how disconnected
pandemic-
from reality
what,
are
you know
they?
what I almost you know what I almost think a pandemic is?
What's that?
Everybody's scared and everybody's
That's not.
grasping. No. This is what I think happens.
I'm listening.
This is what I think happens when humans are collectively given a problem.
That are collectively. Okay, go ahead. I'm listening.
What I think we do is we look at the problem and we lose our heads and we do really messed up stuff to each other
That's pathetic.
when we lose our heads.
Yeah,
and that's what I think it is.
But the point is,
That's
that's
what I-
pathetic
like,
and sad, and that's
over-
what's going to kill our species.
What I'm saying is over
That's
and
why
over,
we won't make it.
over and over in history, what I've seen is when we're given a collective problem, we lose our heads, we lose our cool completely, and we don't know how to solve it. And some of us do, some of us really don't, and they're in the way of the other people that do know how to solve it. And it's a whole thing, and we fight each other, we fight
Okay,
ourselves
but
constantly.
whatever happened to the idea that science has real value and people are supposed to use logic? Why are people so connected to the idea that they're
It's carnal. I think it's carnal.
I don't understand your use of that word there.
You don't understand the use of that word?
I,
Well, when I say
carnal, like
yes,
original
I
sin,
think no, no, not like that.
like
Like caveman. It's very caveman.
so
It's a lot of people succumbing to fear, and because a lot of people succumb to fear, what happens is
it's evolutionary. We're stupid.
we run around like chickens with our heads cut off. Some of us still have our heads. Some of us can still figure out that everyone's running around like chickens with their head cut off, and
Why is
they're
that an
trying to fix the
acceptable
situation.
excuse?
I'm not saying it's an I'm not saying it's an excuse.
But it is.
It's not an excuse.
But it's the reason given for what happened. That's an excuse.
It's only
No,
my
no, I'm not.
it's
I'm
only my
trying to-
assessment of the
I
situation.
know. I agree. I'm not
It's
attacking your thought.
I'm not
I'm trying to
using it-
understand.
I'm not using it as an excuse. I'm only using it as this is what I think might be happening.
So we desperately need mindfulness because otherwise, what a waste. We're wasting our time.
What do you mean?
There's no point. What an absolute shit show of idiots. I get the overwhelming feeling sometimes. It's like I try to stay positive and then you point out why it's such a waste of my time.
The only point I can see is the moment. That's the only point I can see.
Well, I agree. So what do you do in this moment to not act that way?
You be as good of a person as you can possibly in that moment. And you keep working at becoming a better person.
Well, how do you define what that includes?
How do you define what that includes?
Okay, good person.
It's difficult.
It only matters to the people closest to you, and if other people die, oh well.
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to.
I'm asking a question though.
Yeah, I get you. I
don't care about the other people.
No, I'm trying to figure out how to answer it.
No. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm not trying to badger. I'm sorry. I don't mean to come across that way. I'm desperately trying to understand because it's for me. It's the very line between am I wasting my time or am I not? That if in the end, you know what, people just have a million excuses for why they don't really care or put out the effort or whatever.
I only think of it as the only answer I can come up with is am I spreading positivity? That's the only thing I can think of.
So how do I decide how little I try to do of that? Where do I draw that? Where's the line? Where's the line?
You shouldn't be trying to figure out how little of that you should do. You should be trying to do the maximum of that possible.
So
I think.
But what difference does it make if everybody else is? If this is normal human is just
for the sake of sleeping at night. That's it. If I want to sleep, I have to be as good of a person as I possibly can be at all times. And I can't stress myself out with the messed up things I've done in the past, but I also can't not hold myself accountable for the things that I'm doing in the moment that I'm doing them. So when I'm doing something wrong and I realize I'm doing something wrong, I need to say something. And I need to realize, okay, I've done something wrong and I need to acknowledge that this was wrong. And I need to do that so that I can actually sleep at night, so that I can actually feel like I'm trying to do better. Trying to do better always has to be the primary goal in my mind.
But what if I see the building on fire?
You go in there and you try to get people out. That's what I'm trying to do. At least
And where do I draw the line? I got this bucket. Which fires aren't mine and which fires... If I care about my grandchildren, how do I not care about the macro?
I think it's all about...
How am I not really just selling them down the river?
I think it's all about whatever you can live with. And it's even that thought actually has scary implications. But um, it's all about whatever you can live with, and I feel like I can live with the idea that I made my family members happy, or I made my friends happy, or I gave them some joy, some peace that they could maybe think about when they're going through tough times. Not saying that I have to be the thing that people think about when they're going through something rough, but just the idea that I could put out some sort of positivity
Right.
that people could maybe grab onto.
Well,
You know, that gives me so much joy in humanity.
I
And
agree.
that I think is the only solution I've ever been able to come up with on how to not give up on humanity. I consistently give up on humanity and give up on the idea of caring about people. But
how do we change if we're not trying to change it, though?
how do we change if we're not trying to change
How do we
it?
change it
Mm-hmm.
if we're going, I'm not trying to change that?
Well, I'm not saying you shouldn't try to change it. I think you should. I think I think if you feel called to try and change something, you should try and change it. You know, you should work at it. You should give it a go.
It's just as scary, though,
It is. It is.
that,
If you're a doctor and you feel like you've lost people to cancer, and you feel now that it is your job to try and figure out a way to come up with a cure for cancer, go for it.
well, okay, so
Go for it.
this is maybe an explanation of how I feel about all this.
Mm-hmm.
I just let the pandemic thing kind of go. I railed here quietly.
That's okay.
I was surrounded by people
Uh-huh.
in a business that were deniers.
Mm-hmm.
They had their head in the sand. People I trusted, who I thought of as wise people, that were
Mm-hmm.
doing insane things and saying insane things. Christians that explained to me that the reason they had to vote the way they had to was for their retirement.
Mm-hmm.
Like, being good to people was less important than their money, which is a
Mm-hmm.
very non-Christian thought.
Yeah.
It broke my brain. I didn't
Yeah.
do anything about it. I could see what was coming,
Mm-hmm.
not in the sense that that felt good. You got to understand, no, it was the opposite feeling.
It was very much a painful feeling.
It was very angry about the fact that, okay, this is so obvious, and why is everybody ignoring it?
Mm-hmm.
And people looking at you going, well, no, that's not obvious. Even after you'd predicted one piece after another.
I can tell you how I dealt with COVID, or at least where I was at when it
Right,
started and everything. So I was in a house full of people
right,
and full of family. It was nothing but family.
right.
And basically, the idea, at least what I felt the idea throughout the house was, okay, the world's kind of crazy right now.
Right, right.
And we can't really do much right now. We just gotta kind of hope that the doctors can sort this stuff out, and that the people that make the medicines are able to make some kind of vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And when that comes up, we'll do that. Um, and so basically, we were all kind of like just grasping onto each other and just making sure that we could get through this, you know?
Right, right.
And then, like, I left that situation, and I came back to Columbus. And then it got a little bit more real for me in Columbus, because I found out that someone I hadn't talked to in a really long time had died from
Mm-hmm.
COVID. My mom got it. My stepdad got it. Some people that I knew had gotten it. And it was a little bit more scary at that time. But it at first it was scary because of the thought that this thing that I have, that I've this positive place that I've been in,
Mm-hmm.
might be jeopardized because of this.
Right.
And then when I was out of that place, it was very different, where it was like, oh, I'm gonna have to figure this out. And I didn't so much duck my head in the sand as I
Mm-hmm.
did tried my best to stay knowledgeable, but also like hold it at arm's length.
Right. No, I get you. Same
You
here.
know, I was trying to do both, because I knew if I kept it close to me, it was gonna be hard for me to do anything else and to focus on anything else that needed to get done at the time.
Well, and it really broke me because to some extent, I mean, there were, like I said, there were people I believed in that I thought weren't.
Hmm.
I don't know. I hate to say words like stupid or ignorant because I don't mean it that way. It was, I know they're not, so I know they were decisions. The
Mm-hmm.
hardest part was going, no, this is your ego convincing yourself of whatever you want to believe.
Well,
I
mm-hmm.
couldn't come to terms with the idea that somebody needed a sofa so bad that I needed to walk into their house. It wasn't that I was scared about delivering this sofa to their house. It was
Mm-hmm.
that I was disgusted by the level of greed. That
Mm-hmm.
both ends of that were so desperate for their reward that who cared about the people in the middle?
Well, the thought is that I think that they're bad actors. I definitely think that, but I also think that I have the constant thought, and maybe this is a bit of an assumption, but I have the constant thought that there's gotta be a lot of people that are trying to do good, and I don't know if that's an
I
overestimation.
think there's a lot of people who think they're doing good but don't stop to ask what they can do to help. And so
What
then
do you
they
mean?
walk around more than anything else, patting themselves on the back, telling themselves they're doing something.
Right.
That you look at the average nonprofit in this country, and really most of the money is going towards not whatever they say they're doing.
Everything else. Yeah.
But they're patting themselves on the back really, really hard for what they are doing. And that's
Right.
not to say, I don't know. It seems all very egocentric to me. The explanation as to why it's not our fault. The explanation as to why it's always somebody else. The explanation is to, well, yeah, but there's a few bad actors. Well, yeah, but people were motivated by this. And it's like, it sounds like children.
Mhm.
It over and over again sounds like children. And I don't mean for that to sound presumptuous. I'm just as childlike. I don't,
I almost think of human nature as childlike.
we better grow up. We're running out of time and we better grow up. That's what I'm trying to do. Because we
Mhm.
better grow up. Me too.
Mhm.
Well, ain't that just a fun way to go into the weekend? Time to grow up, folks.
Mhm.
So, what are you doing this weekend? You got anything good going on?
We're doing a show tomorrow. Maybe.
Maybe. We might do a little
Maybe. We might do a little
live music this
a little
weekend.
live
Sometime in
sometime in the
the
afternoon.
evening, afternoonish hours tomorrow, we might try and get up a little sound.
Yeah,
That would be cool. That
I
would be a
think
good
that would be
time.
cool too.
We're definitely working in the direction of wanting to have a kind of consistent live show once a week, maybe sort of an open mic sort of situation. A
Yeah.
couple hours on Saturdays, and then we do additional live stuff with the people we're working with in the studio the rest of the week. If you haven't caught it, the Farm Report, mornings at 9 a.m. Echo. 9 a.m. I actually get there sort of on time ish. This show, of course, Monday through Friday,
Mhm.
noon 30 o'clock. For those of you that don't know when noon 30 o'clock is, that's 12:15 Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
noon 30 o'clock, because I just like to see what I can do. But on that note, we'll be back on Monday and hopefully on Saturday. And those of you that are going to meditate with me in Vietnam on Sunday, I'll see you there. And then there's another group doing something Saturday night. And oh, and I've been asked to maybe help try and start a group on men's health and Buddhism and how those things relate. Somebody reached out to me on the internet. But I love you all. Have a great weekend.
See ya.
See ya. Oh no. Oh no. I covered up my buttons. My buttons is covered. Where's my buttons?